Since 2016, El Chapo, the notorious drug lord and former leader of the Sinaloa cartel, has been in prison in the United States. The drug lord was known for his prison break in Mexico, and the United States did not take chances. He was imprisoned in the most secure facility in the country, the ADX Florence, in Florence, Colorado. However, something horrific happened, requiring El Chapo to send a chilling message. As one of the world's most notorious drug lords, El Chapo faces life imprisonment plus 30 years for his destructive drug conspiracy. El Chapo's prison life and message reveal the harsh reality he faces within the walls of ADX Florence. This high-security supermax prison is unlike anything you've seen before. With strict rules and a rigid schedule, it leaves little room for comfort or freedom. For the first 3 years of his sentence, El Chapo experienced complete isolation, with no interaction with other prisoners. Imagine spending years without human contact. It's a chilling thought. His limited outside time offers little solace, as it's confined to a concrete pit or an empty swimming pool. His cell, made entirely of poured concrete, provides no comfort either, with only basic amenities like a bed, desk, stool, toilet, shower, and a tiny window slit that barely reveals slivers of the outside world. It's no wonder that escaping from ADX Florence is almost impossible. No one has ever succeeded in breaking free from this fortress. Meals are hand-delivered to each inmate, as the prison lacks a mess hall, and El Chapo spends most of his time in lockdown. With just 5 hours of weekly recreation, the isolation and lack of freedom weigh heavily on him. ADX Florence has state-of-the-art security measures, motion detectors, cameras, remote-controlled steel doors, panic buttons, pressure pads, razor wire fences, and armed officers, ensuring constant surveillance and vigilance. Life inside ADX Florence is nothing short of a challenge, and some inmates have resorted to hunger strikes to protest the harsh treatment and conditions. This prison is designed to punish and isolate the most dangerous criminals. It's one of the strictest and most secure facilities globally. Located within the Federal Correctional Complex in Colorado, ADX was designed to hold the nation's most notorious and violent criminals. Among them are individuals involved in domestic terrorism, espionage, serial killings, and gang leadership, each with their own dark and chilling stories. El Chapo's presence among such criminals underscores the gravity of his actions and the impact of his drug empire on countless lives. Recently, El Chapo's prison message has surfaced, revealing the disturbing reality of his confinement in ADX Florence. According to his lawyer, El Chapo's 6-year stay in the United States has been tormenting. His message, an SOS directed to Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, asked for an investigation into alleged violations during his extradition in 2017. El Chapo's case raises questions about prisoner treatment, especially those in solitary confinement, and the impact on their mental health and human rights. ADX Florence, known as the Fortress of Maximum Security, houses the most dangerous and violent criminals in the U.S. Life in ADX is marked by isolation, minimal activities, and limited contact with others. Despite the challenges, El Chapo seems determined to seek a different fate, hoping for a more comfortable life behind bars, and even contemplating an escape. However, given the severity of his crimes, his chances of returning to Mexico remain uncertain. His case sparks debates on the treatment of prisoners and the balance between punishment and safeguarding basic human rights. El Chapo's complaints about the conditions at ADX Florence are not new. His lawyers have raised concerns before. Last year, they claimed his rights were violated. He wasn't allowed outside, and proper medical treatment was denied, all of which were disregarded. Surprisingly, even infamous drug lords have their troubles. El Chapo complained about tap water and wanted bottled water in his jail cell. He even found the cell too cold. But behind these complaints lies a deeper issue: the psychological toll of prolonged solitary confinement. El Chapo's message highlights the mental well-being of prisoners subjected to isolation. This sparks crucial discussions about the treatment of inmates and their rehabilitation prospects. It also raises questions about human rights and whether prisoners receive the necessary care and support. El Chapo's desire to return to Mexico is evident. He'd much rather be locked up there than in ADX Florence. His history with Mexican prisons probably explains why. If his plea works, he might end up in a cozier cell. Or, who knows, he might make another daring escape before lunchtime. El Chapo's escape from a Mexican prison raised serious concerns for the United States, leading to doubts about the Mexican government's ability to detain high-profile and dangerous criminals securely. The failure to extradite El Chapo to the U.S. further undermined confidence in Mexico's commitment to effectively prosecuting and containing him. The Peña Nieto administration faced intense scrutiny and criticism for its handling of El Chapo's incarceration and escape, bringing international attention to corruption issues in Mexico. The U.S. decision to retain custody of El Chapo in ADX Florence, known for its stringent security measures, reflected a lack of confidence in Mexico's ability to handle high-profile criminals. El Chapo's preference for serving his sentence in a Mexican prison highlights the harsh and restrictive conditions at ADX Florence. In contrast, a Mexican prison might offer certain advantages and familiarities for him, presenting a unique perspective on what maximum security means in Mexico. Overall, El Chapo's case sheds light on the challenges of containing and securing top criminals, and raises questions about corruption and the effectiveness of justice systems in both the United States and Mexico. El Chapo's audacious escape plan involved a well-connected network of 78 people with an estimated cost of $2.5 million. After being captured again, he was taken to the Altiplano Maximum Security Prison near Mexico City, where he managed to escape again. The Hollywood-style prison break shed more light on deep-rooted corruption within the Mexican government. The escape from Altiplano was a meticulously planned operation that involved the construction of an elaborate tunnel beneath the prison. Stretching over a mile long and reaching 62 feet, the tunnel was equipped with lighting and ventilation systems. El Chapo ingeniously used a bike-like gadget to make his way through the tunnel with precision and sophistication. The complexity of constructing such a tunnel raised questions about how it could have been excavated without detection, and how the builders could pinpoint the exact location of his cell, especially without access to the prison's blueprint. Analysts and experts have suggested that he likely received assistance from individuals inside the prison and powerful figures outside of its walls. The extent of collaboration within the Mexican government remains unclear, with some speculating that corruption may have reached higher levels. This suspicion is fueled by the fact that El Chapo was allowed to remain in the same cell for the entirety of his 504-day incarceration before his escape, raising eyebrows about the lax supervision and possible inside help. Motion sensor alarms that could have detected underground movements were conveniently deactivated, suggesting deliberate sabotage. The astonishing number of visitors he received, about one per day on average, raises concerns about overseeing and monitoring his interactions. The surveillance camera inside Guzman's cell, which initially had no blind spots, mysteriously had 2 blind spots on the day of his escape, strategically located where the escape tunnel was located. Mexican authorities defended this discrepancy by claiming it respected Guzman's rights to privacy, even in a maximum security facility. The escape from the Altiplano prison severely damaged the credibility of Mexico's penitentiary system, raising doubts about its ability to meet international security standards. The fact that the American Correctional Association had previously certified the Altiplano prison further questions the reliability and effectiveness of such certifications. El Chapo has enjoyed no such privileges in the U.S., as ADX Florence is a fortress, the epitome of maximum security. Spanning 37 acres within the Federal Correctional Complex in Florence, it houses some of the most brutal criminals in the U.S. Among them, El Chapo stands alongside other notorious individuals, each with their dark and chilling stories. ADX Florence seems the perfect place to ensure El Chapo faces the punishment he deserves. Amidst the heinous crimes surrounding him, El Chapo's drug trafficking empire seems to fit like a custom-made glove. As he navigates his daily routine, strict rules and a rigid schedule govern his existence at ADX Florence. The first 3 years bring complete isolation from other prisoners, leaving him without conversation, alliances, or camaraderie behind the cold prison bars. Outside time offers little solace and is far from the spacious accommodations he once enjoyed. His cell, made entirely of poured concrete, provides no comfort, offering only basic amenities and a faint reflection in polished steel mirrors. While some educational and recreational programs are available, El Chapo's days are mostly spent in lockdown, with a mere 5 hours of weekly recreation time. The level of security is unmatched, with motion detectors, cameras, and remote-controlled steel doors, ensuring constant surveillance. In ADX Florence, even the slightest threat of an emergency can trigger a lockdown with a single panic button. The fortress-like security includes pressure pads, towering razor wire fences, laser beams, and attack dogs to deter any escape attempts. Armed officers patrol vigilantly, sealing off the facility from the outside world. The United States' reluctance to send El Chapo back to Mexico stems from deep concerns about government corruption and the risk of another daring escape. El Chapo's previous prison breaks exposed grave issues within the Mexican system. His history of elaborate escapes from Mexican prisons showcases his understanding of the system's vulnerability. If he were to return to Mexico for his sentence, authorities would likely place him in a different facility, such as Reclusorio Norte in Mexico City. However, reports suggest wealth and influence can buy additional privileges, even in Mexican prisons. In such facilities, wealthy prisoners may access special VIP areas with extra comforts like television, internet access, and conjugal visits at a price. Some affluent inmates can even hire fellow prisoners to serve as personal assistants, known as monsters. While life inside ADX Florence is characterized by extreme isolation, limited human interaction, and sparse amenities, Mexican prisons allow for more socialization among inmates, which could give El Chapo an advantage in staying connected to his network and potential allies, facilitating communication and coordination of illegal activities. Recent reports of bribery, illicit businesses, and organized crime within Mexican prisons suggests that El Chapo might maintain some level of control and comfort there, even under maximum security conditions. Nevertheless, El Chapo's request to return to Mexico has been acknowledged by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, with promises of consideration. Still, given the severity of his crimes and the high-profile nature of his case, the chances of his plea being granted are slim. El Chapo's determination to fight extradition to the U.S. and his plea to serve his sentence in Mexico is undeniable. The U.S. and Mexico have an agreement allowing prisoners to be transferred back to their home countries to serve their sentences. However, in El Chapo's case, the severity of his crimes and his life sentence raised doubts about whether this agreement would apply to him. Moreover, concerns about the risks he still poses to society make authorities skeptical about his possible return to Mexico. On January 10th, El Chapo's lawyer, Rodriguez, sent an email to the Mexican embassy in Washington on his behalf, seeking assistance in his bid to be returned to Mexico. However, the response from the Mexican foreign minister seemed less than enthusiastic, downplaying the request and showing limited interest in aiding the notorious drug lord. It is evident that El Chapo is actively seeking an alternative to ADX Florence. His attempts to fight extradition to the U.S. and his plea for a Mexican prison serve as compelling evidence of his desire to find a way out of his current confinement. Will El Chapo's message bring about any change, or will he remain confined within the walls of this maximum security fortress? Only time will tell. If you like this video, make sure to watch this next one.